2 races to go in the Ginetta GT Academy, and the first is about to get underway here at the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit in bright, sunny, if rather cold conditions. And the man on pole position, Ravi Ramyeed, has got to win this race. He has got to win the second race of the day later on as well in order to win the championship. He won yesterday in somewhat dominant fashion. He's now had 12 race wins this year to the 11 of his main title rival, Nick White. Now, like a lot of championships, the dreaded drop scores come into play in Ginetta racing. Ravi Ramyeed drops 85. He also has a further 15 points to drop, which are penalty points, whereas Nick White drops 159. And when you factor all that in, it means that there's only 2 points between them going into these penultimate 2 races. But Nick White is in the stronger position, and he's the man that lines up third on the grid. So Ravi Ramyeed has the pressure on. He's got to win both races, as I say. Nick White ideally needs to get ahead as well. It really is going to be a winner takes all day, with Matt Shaw, the man that's had 13 rookie class wins, lining up between them, second on the grid. And he made a slightly slow start yesterday, did Matt, but raced well once he recovered from that, and he could be a factor as well. All of these cars are the same. They are the Ginetta G56, the Academy aimed at drivers with limited racing experience, although Ravi Ramyeed himself did do quite a lot of production BMW racing a few years back. All of these cars have the 3.7 Ford V6 engine, 270 brake horsepower, 140 miles an hour top speed, and an ideal way to come into racing and learn about big, powerful, hairy sports cars. The formation lap about to get underway. It's going to be a 20-minute race then. It'll be against the clock rather than a set number of laps. And the 2 to watch, number 17, Ravi Ramyeed, and number 57, Nick White, who's in the stronger situation as far as the championship is concerned. But yesterday, there was very little, if anything, that he could do about Ravi Ramyeed, who dominated from pole position. Nick White got up into second, but that was really as good as it got. He was never able to get close enough to mount a challenge. Formation lap underway then as the cars make the run down towards Redgate Corner. Final opportunity to partly have a look at where the puddles might be, because the cars come straight from the assembly area behind the Grand Prix loop onto the grid and then one lap. So this is the first time today really that the drivers will have a chance to have a look at where any damp patches still are, and offline it is still quite damp even though the sun is shining. It's such a chilly day, and then of course it's an opportunity also to get warmth into the tyres and get the tyre pressures up as well, ready for racing. This is how they line up then, with Ravi Ramyeed on pole, Matt Shaw with him at the front of the grid, and then starting third, Nick White. John Carney, who's also had 1 victory at Snetterton this year, he lines up 4th. Luke Shaw starts 5th. Emma Tomlinson, who's had a couple of rookie class wins, lining up 6th from the Ginetta owning family, ahead of Ed Akers and then Mark Elman, both of whom ran well yesterday, although Ed Akers got a bit of a rap on the knuckles for track limit offences. Tom Shelley comes next alongside Tom Balfe, whose father Sean is in British GT later on in the day here. Amy Tomlinson, she is 11th, having had a rookie class win. Michael Orant is next, ahead of Paul Livesey, whose son Felix we saw out in the junior race earlier on. He drives for MDD, Scott McKenna's team, former Ginetta champion. Robin Grimwood for Jim Edwards' E3 Sport team next, ahead of Stephen Frassel, who had a spin yesterday, and Mackenzie Walker, who should be one to watch to make a bit of progress because he's 3rd in the championship. Charlotte Lowe, 17th, ahead of Lucy Tomlinson, and then the last 2 on the grid. Max Rattel, Stefan Rattel's son. Stefan himself is here, and Phil McGarty, Ginetta stalwart, is at the back of the grid. Max had a drama yesterday and found the gravel at Redgate Corner. He only had his race debut at Brands Hatch, a month or so ago. So he learns all the time, one to watch. And Matt Shaw then, the rookie championship leader, making his way down towards the Melbourne hairpin. The road definitely drying, but as we've been seeing over the course of the day, to do the overtaking, you've got to go offline, and there on the inside line at the Melbourne hairpin, damp patches prevail. So you've got to be very confident that you can get the car slowed down in time if you are going to make a lunge on the inside. And the earlier Ginetta race, the GT Championship, had drama on the first lap of the old hairpin when people got onto the wet part of the road and just could not slow down in time. Mackenzie Walker's view, it's going to be quite busy for the first few corners, certainly for him. The E3 Sport entry, the team of Jim Edwards Jr., and the other E's to make up the 3, Jim Senior, and Jade, his daughter, who's been racing this year, of course, in the British Touring Car Championship. And Jim Edwards has been a Ginetta team owner and British GT team owner for the last few seasons. But now E3 Sport, the new name for the team. And lots of experience, lots of success with it. To the grid then they come. Last couple of cars will be in place. The green flag will be shown at the back to say that everybody has returned from that formation lap. A one-by-one staggered grid for these cars, just to give it a little bit of space for safety reasons between the relative rookies to racing. And then we're going to be in business then once the grid is cleared. There will be a 5-second board shown to the drivers. Then they will concentrate on the lights. The clock on 20 minutes gets set to tick on down. And so Ravi Ramyi, then number 17 on pole position, waits for the lights to go to red. The green flag now is shown at the very back. So the last driver, Phil McGarty, is in place. 5-second board is shown. The lights go to red. And can Ravi Ramyi convert pole position into the race lead? The lights blink. He makes a good, slightly sideways start. Bad getaway in contrast from Luke Shaw as the cars accelerate down towards Redgate for the first time. Nick White gets ahead of Matt Shaw to go second. On the inside line in the bright yellow colours then goes John Carney as they turn onto the top of the Crater curves for the first time. But Ravi Ramyi has done exactly what he needs to do, convert pole position into the race lead as they plunge down through the Crater curves for the first time. And now Nick White, the man in pursuit, knows that he's got to get ahead of him, as absolutely on his toes early doors here. Mackenzie Walker getting up through the traffic as they drop down towards the old hairpin for the first time. 1 or 2 running out wide. John Carney kisses the gravel on the outside of the road in the yellow car, but he survives it, powers uphill towards Schwann's curve for the first time, with up front then Ravi Ramyi getting away, trying to break clear of the opposition. Ed Akers in the orange car goes for the inside line then, prizes open the door against John Carney and goes through. And then you've got Tom Shelley, number 76, in the green and yellow car, also looking to go through, and he does. So John Carney gets well and truly mugged on the opening lap, losing 2 places within 2 corners as the leading trio escapes up the road. Ravi Ramyi then trying to build this gap over Nick White in second place. Nick White, the championship leader, and he can't really afford to let Ravi Ramyi take another victory. He's going to try to get on with this and outscore him. And if he can win this race, it means the championship is his with a race to spare. It takes the pressure off for the rest of the day. Ramyi, in the meantime, bouncing back after a bad Brands Hatch, leads out of the Melbourne hairpin. John Carney with a full send up the inside into the Melbourne hairpin, tries to scrabble past on the inside line. And just about does it, coming out of the corner. Yes, goes through. So the top 2, almost nose to tail, coming into Goddard's, with Nick White then, 11 times a winner this year, going after the race leader, Ravi Ramyi, and the gap down under braking. Further back, nose to tail there, John Carney ahead of Tom Shelley. Those 2 together as the leaders go by. Half a second being the margin at the end of the opening lap, down through Redgate now. In 3rd place, Matt Shaw. Ed Akers is 4th, 5th, the yellow car of Carney. 6th on his tail is Shelley. And further back there on the inside line, pulling out of the draft, Mackenzie Walker. 12th over the line. And looking to try to make progress in the E3 Sport car onto the top of the Craner curves now. 20-minute race down through the Craners for the 2nd time they come. And Ravi Ramyi being caught slightly within the 1st sector by Nick White. The gap down by just under 1/10 of a second. Might not sound a lot, but in a one-make category, every little is absolutely vital. Tom Shelley, in the meantime, trying to get back onto terms with John Carney, closing up under braking for McLean's. They use that very low, flat, motorbike-friendly curve on the inside line. And it means that in so doing, Carney is able to keep Shelley at bay. Good little battle raging on behind them now as well, where you've got Emma Tomlinson, number 47, trying to hang on to the place, but losing out. As up the inside line goes Luke Shaw, recovering after that duff start. Luke Shaw goes through and straight away stretches the margin as they come now down to the S's for the 2nd time of asking. Yesterday's race won by Ravi Ramyi. They got 12 laps in, and his winning margin was over a couple of seconds. So Nick White knows what he's up against as they come out of the S's then, left, right. Aubrey extension was added on way back in 1985. It was a much tighter left and right, but it was much easier an overtaking opportunity. Now then, with the low curves, it's really one line, a flick through, and up the inside line and contact with his elbows out. Mackenzie Walker trying to muscle his way up the pack. The inside line for the Melbourne hairpin puts him on the outside line for Goddard's. He is level with Paul Livesey there, who breaks late coming into the corner, goes a little bit deep. The door is slightly open. And now coming onto the pit straight, Mackenzie Walker gets up the inside, but that's going to translate to the outside line by the time they get down towards Redgate corner. Last of the late breakers then, Livesey on the inside line, Walker on the outside. This is for 11th and 12th places. Mackenzie Walker does go through, so brave stuff on the brakes, he goes by, and now the cars making their way down through the Craner curves once more. The gap still half a second between the leaders, and Nick White last time around was faster than the race leader by 21 thousandths of a second. So there's not much to choose, but he is at least today, I think, being able to stay with Ravi Ramyi even if as yet he's not been able to make a move. Number 55, Michael Oren, new to the championship, novice cross on the back. He's also racing really well here, getting himself up past John Carney. So Michael Oren heads into 7th place now after his first outing in these cars yesterday, 15th place. And Luke Shaw also moving himself back up the order after that slow start. He was 5th on the grid, remember. Luke Shaw gets ahead of Carney and gets ahead of Oren coming out of the corner at Coppice. So number 21, Luke Shaw, what was he, 9th at the start of the lap, and he's still absolutely charging then as they come down towards the S's. And Michael Oren losing 2 spots again because he ended up on the wetter part of the road and falls back into the queue. Really sideways, Luke Shaw gets all crossed up, goes out wide. Thank you very much, says John Carney, who comes back up the inside line in the bright yellow car, retakes the place. 1 up and 1 back for Luke Shaw then, as in the background, look, the next target for Mackenzie Walker is going to be number 47. That is Emma Tomlinson. Walker goes through under braking and now she'll be able to escape up the road. Others getting sideways out of the corner include Paul Lives in there as the leaders go by. 0.3 of a second now, so it's game on. Nick White fancying his chances today of being able to make a move against Rami Ramyeed. He's trying to apply the pressure as well, force an error maybe out of Ramyeed as they hit the top of the Craner curves again. Race lead on the line, championship on the line as well between these two that have absolutely blitzed the championship all year. Down through the Craner curves, 14 minutes are on the clock still. Tyre squeal as they come through the corner. Ramyeed just edges away slightly there. So as they come up towards the end of the middle sector, I think the gap will have gone up again. It had come down fractionally within sector 1, the cut-off point for which is midway down the Craner curves. By the end of sector 2, which is down Starkist Straight, I think Nick White will have dropped back a little bit. So it was rather down to the bravery of Ravi Ramyeed through the old hairpin. There he is up front ahead of Nick White. Out of Coppice they come. And this lap 4 out of a possible 12 as they come with the road getting ever drier and thus faster towards the S's once more. In the background, Matt Shaw falling away a little bit. And then you've got Ed Akers next up ahead of the car of 76. That is Tom Shelley. Mark Elman rounding out the top 6. Leaders come down towards the Melbourne hairpin, and as far as that middle sector was concerned, it was very much advantage Ramyeed, but late braking brings Nick White back onto the tail of his championship rival into the Melbourne hairpin. But then the car just washes out slightly, coming out of the corner. 3rd and 4th closing up as well now. Matt Shaw just ahead of Ed Akers as the race leaders scrabble their way up towards the end of the lap. Over the timing line now goes Ramyeed, goes White behind him. 0.4 of a second is the margin, and that time around Ramyeed fraction of a bit faster. Nick White, number 57, closing back up again under braking for Redgate. But Ravi Ramyeed, who drove in these cars last season, knows the intricacies of them, is not cracking under the pressure, and again just edges away slightly coming out of the tight right of Redgate down through the Craner curves. Nick White doing everything he can to get back onto the tail of the race leader there. The right-hander make the climb up the hill into Schwann's curve. Meantime, further back in the queue, next little battle includes Stephen Fressel, number 43, just ahead of Charlotte Lowe. You've got Amy Tomlinson there as well, and towards the rear of that, Lucy Tomlinson. So the Tomlinsons getting themselves together. Max Rattel chases hard behind them as they come down through the Craner curves. All of them getting faster and faster the more seat time they have over the course of the season. The road now, the old hairpin, much drier than it was earlier on in the day, so the lap is getting quicker all the time. On this lap though, in the first sector, Nick White hundredths quicker than the leader. In the middle sector, 0.2 faster with Ravi Ramyeed. So it's from the old hairpin all the way around to the S's where Ramyeed is stronger, but now Nick White even pulls out of the draft. Just look about making a move coming into the hairpin, and Ramyeed locks up and goes wide, and Nick White pounces on the inside line. He goes through, does he? They lean on each other. Ramyeed gets forced wide over the curb and onto the grass, but Nick White goes through, and all that was started by Ravi Ramyeed making a tiny little error under braking. That's exactly what Nick White needed him to do. He's applied the pressure for the first nearly 5 laps of the race, and then White spins, coming out of Goddard, having just got the race lead. A mistake forced out of his rival, a mistake comes out of him, and now he drops into 4th place. So Nick White's chance of winning the championship lasted about a corner. He was in the lead, he booted it out of Goddard, and around went the back. And so Ravi Ramyeed thinks, fantastic, I'm back in the lead. And not only that, but Nick White's got a lot of work to do to even think about getting 2nd place back, which is where he was. This is how Nick White had his moment. The car a little bit twitchy through the corner, accelerates out and just completely lost the back. Round he went, and so Ravi Ramyeed goes back into the lead. 2nd now, Matt Shaw. 3rd is Ed Akers. And all of that now means that Ravi Ramyid's advantage is nearly 3 seconds clear of the opposition. The battles are not done yet either, because there you can see number 11 of Amy Tomlinson now up past Stephen Fressel as the cars go on at the top of the Craner curves and heading down towards the old hairpin. So, high drama mid-race. And now we're getting the track limit warnings as well. One of them is coming for number 43, which is Stephen Fressel, who's dropped back in the pack over the last lap. And another one is coming the way of number 57, Nick White. So not only has he had his spin, not only has he lost the lead, not only is he on the back foot for the championship, but he's going to have to mind what he does for the next 10 minutes for fear of a penalty. So the next target for Nick White is Ed Akers. He was just under a second behind him when they came over the line, but the pressure is on to try to bring down that gap once more as the cars here head towards once more the S's. Number 34 you're looking at, Tom Balfe, the rookie class. That's sure one of the stars of British GT racing over the years. Former single-seater racer himself, so the Balfe dynasty carries on as there, the leader, Ravi Ramyid, goes over the line. And he's 1.6 seconds up on Matt Shaw. Last lap through, Matt was the quicker of them. So let's see what he can do here. If he were to win the race, then that would help Nick White in the championship as well, wouldn't it? So you're riding with Matt Shaw down through the Craner curves now. Road getting drier, road getting faster all the time. Turn in, rattle over the curb, and on exit. Left at Schwann's curve, stand on the brakes, go right. Down from 5th, 4th gear. And Matt Shaw having to really fight the car. Lots of power, still the road is pretty cold, still it's damp offline, and in the gravel to prove the point is Charlotte Lowe. And that's not coming out of there, I wouldn't have thought. So Charlotte Lowe off the road, I think I'm right in saying on the exit of Redgate Corner. And that's going to bring out a yellow light and a yellow flag, and the snatch vehicle, you can see the little green tractor in the background is on hand. Max Rattel goes through the incident zone, which is where he went off, in fact, yesterday. But the marshals are going to try and give that car a shove, just depends how beached it is. And how did she get there? Thus, all on her own. It's a bit like Nick White's spin. Self-induced, around went the back of the car, slid into the gravel, yellow lights flash. And so that's the end, seemingly, of Charlotte Lowe. Let's wait and see whether the race can continue under yellows or whether it needs to be neutralised. The race leaders then up towards the line. Ravi Ramyid ahead at the start of the lap by 1.7 seconds, and the safety car deployed just after the leader goes through. So it misses the leader, and 3rd and 4th are going to be entrapped behind it. So the safety car deployed, but not in time to get the race leader. So this is now going to waste even more time to try to unravel the situation. Really, the safety car crew should get on with waving the people past, I suppose, but they can't do that unless instructed by race control. The danger here is that Ravi Ramyid and Matt Shaw, who'd gone past, gain a lap on everybody else. So we'll wait and see what happens, but why it is so difficult to deploy the safety car in front of the leader, I can't tell you. Down towards the old hairpin comes then 3rd placed Ed Akers, Nick White behind. So he desperately wants the order to be restored properly to give him a chance of recovering after his spin. But right now, the 2 cars that escaped are away up the road and potentially looking for the safety car. There in the pit lane is Tom Shelley with liquid pouring out of the front. So that's the end of his race. The Century Motorsport car, a retirement. Right, the gravel trap is going to be clear, and now we're going to have this mess with the 3rd place car behind the safety car, and the leaders are miles up the road. So now what do we do to try and rectify the situation? The car in 3rd spot ought to be waved past. Ravi Ramyid is crawling round, so if the safety car lets the field go, it'll never get caught if Ravi Ramyid goes at this speed. But the safety car with its lights on can't overtake anybody. If it didn't have its lights on, it would be able to, as you see in GT World Challenge, for example. So I'm afraid this is a bit of a mess from the clerk of the course to pick up the wrong car, and now you've got this situation of the two leaders crawling around, hoping that somebody catches them. Ravi Ramyid, I think in fairness, is trying to do the right thing by going slowly. So he's helping the race officials rather than race control helping themselves. So the race leaders coast over the line. Safety car is third. And the danger here is you're going to run out of time to get the race back underway. So Ravi Ramyid crawls over the line. The safety car can now see what's ahead. Hopefully will speed up. Nearly there. Safety car second. Safety car dives for the race lead. Safety car picks up the race leader finally, so we are in business. Phew. So hopefully we can get this lap now, and then the cars can be released, and we will get a couple of racing laps in before the end. A lot of that being done was thanks to Ravi Ramyid, who saw the safety car come out and slowed and waited for it. So he deserves credit for that. So down through the Craner curves they come. So the gravel trap is clear. And hopefully the lights can be extinguished around this lap and we can go back racing. You can see the clock counting down. So safety car will bail and we'll be back running, all being well this time. So Nick White in number 57 with this Damocletian driving standards flag is the one on his toes to try to get past Ed Akers. Matt Shaw in the meantime ideally wants to get past Ravi Ramyid, and like I said a few laps back, that would help Nick White because Ravi Ramyid has got to win the race, come what may. And if somebody else, whether it's Nick White or Matt Shaw, wins it, then it's a different story again. See how much grass people have picked up. Not necessarily because they've been off the road, but other people in previous races even as well have dragged it onto the circuit, and it's just lying around, being blown into the front of the grille of the car, but into the pit lane will come the safety car hopefully this time, and then we are good to go. Lights out. So it'll be just under 3 minutes by the time the cars cross the line. 2 more racing laps, I would suggest, is what we're going to have. So the safety car quickens its pace, comes then now into the Melbourne hairpin, and ready to sprint towards the timing line is Ravi Ramyid then. The one to watch in the background is the white and blue car of Nick White. And Ravi Ramyid, in fairness, has stolen a march already over Matt Shaw, but then he goes a bit deep into Goddard, so Matt Shaw does close back up onto him. Ravi Ramyid will accelerate now towards the timing line. Green flag drops. We're back racing again as they come through. Down towards Redgate then. Ramyid 6/10 up, and Nick White closing onto the back of Ed Akers as they break for the corner, turn into the right-hander now. In 5th place, you've got Mark Elman. In 6th place, it is John Carney. And the cars hit the top of the Craner curves. This is lap 10. And straight away, in fairness, Ravi Ramyid is building that gap once again. So the cars now into the old hairpin. What have we got going on further back? Well, Nick White not really being able to make progress as yet. So for the moment, he is stuck in that 4th place. 81, Phil McGarty up for the back of the grid. Now running in 14th place, helped by others having their travails, admittedly, but using his experience then to good effect. Phil McGarty making progress all the time. Lots of task wheel as the cars go through Coppice. But Nick White staring at the back of Ed Akers. We've now got Ravi Ramyid with a driving standards flag. So as very, very wide goes Nick White all over the grass on exit of Coppice and scoops it into the front of the car. Ravi Ramyid equals him with a black and white warning flag. So Nick White may find the temperatures rising a little bit before the end with all that grass clogging up the grille. But Ravi Ramyid, the leader, now needs to be careful as well. So he has got a driving standards flag. So too is Nick White, and a big move on the inside puts Carney on the inside of Elman. John Carney goes by, but Mark Elman tries to fight back coming out of the corner. Together they run on the run up towards Goddard's, and they're about to start the last lap. There is now less than a lap time left in the race. And so this time, onto the pit straight there, number 25, John Carney, back ahead for 5th of Mark Elman. But Ravi Ramyid, who's done the fastest lap of the race, leads the way. He's going to push this down to the last race of the year. And Nick White, only fourth, is not going to have the best of grid positions, therefore, going into race 3. Ramy to the top of the crane is once again. Last lap, punch downhill now. Heading this time to the old hairpin. There you can see number 21 of Luke Shaw, who's been one of the stars of the rookie category this year. Behind him is Mackenzie Walker, who's now up into 8th place, having started way back 16th. So he's had a good run. And this is Walker's view, looking at the back of Luke Shaw's car now. Out of Schwann's curve, brake, down through the gears, into third, go right for McLean's. No way through on the inside there. Checkered flag at the ready this lap. So now or never for Mackenzie Walker. Moves to the inside of Coppice, thinks about it, thinks better of it. Go right again now. And so down towards the S's they come, with Ravi Ramyeed clear up front then. He comes into the left, flicks right, dances over the curb, and now blasts down towards the Melbourne hairpin. Looks as though 13 wins are going to be recorded then by Ravi Ramyeed, and he will take the championship into the last race, because unless he does anything wrong in the last couple of corners, the victory is there for the taking. He powers uphill. He comes now into the left-hander of Goddard's, turns his way up towards the checkered flag, which is being made ready for number 17 Ravi Ramyeed to win the second race of the weekend in the Ginetta GT Academy. He comes across the line now to win race 2 of the weekend from Matt Shaw and Akers third. A very frustrated Nick White, only 4th, ahead of John Carney, then Mark Ellman, then the rookie class winner Luke Shaw, Mackenzie Walker 8th, up from 16th on the grid, ahead of Michael Orant, and then Emma Tomlinson to round out the top 10. And drama there, right at the very end, for Paul Livesey. So he, I'm afraid, has come to a halt. But Ravi Ramyeed it is who scores the win, and does so by just under a second and a half at the end of a very good drive indeed, apart from that one track limit warning. Now there is a 5-second penalty being given to Stephen Fressel for track limit offences, but as far as I'm aware, he is the only driver that is subject to such. Nothing else has come up on the screen. He did have a warning flag during the course of the race. Do it again and you get a 5-second penalty, but it doesn't affect anybody else looking at the classification on screen. So we lost Tom Shelley in the pits, we lost Charlotte Lowe in the gravel, and Ravi Ramyeed it is who takes the race win, despite that spin of Nick White, who was briefly ahead, didn't faze him. So Ravi Ramyeed's 13th win of the year secures honours for him. So let's have a look at the results then of race 2 of the weekend for the Ginetta GT Academy. It is a win for Ravi Ramyeed, ahead of Matt Shaw, with Ed Akers in 3rd place. 4th, Nick White, ahead of John Carney, and then Mark Ellman, with Luke Shaw taking the rookie class, Mackenzie Walker 8th, then Michael Orant and Emma Tomlinson rounding out the top 10. Robin Grimwood 11th, ahead of Tom Bow, Phil McGarty, Amy and Lucy Tomlinson next. The penalised Stephen Fressel ahead of Max Rattel. We lost Paul Livesey, but he did make it to the flag despite his dramas on the last lap, but we did lose Tom Shelley and Charlotte Lowe. So let's look at the best bits of race 2 of the weekend in Ginetta GT Academy. Bad start by Luke Shaw, which compromised his run away from the line. Ravi Ramyeed it was, though, that hit the front, and he was in charge as the cars went down towards Redgate, with championship rival Nick White on his tail as they turned their way around Redgate. John Carney made a decent enough getaway and was on the inside of Matt Shaw, but as the race wore on, so Carney will drop back. First of all, with this move on the inside, allowing Ed Akers past him. Tom Shelley in touch to begin with, but then with liquid pouring out of the front of the car, we lost him from the race. Mackenzie Walker was being feisty as he tried to work his way through traffic. And Luke Shaw likewise, as he made a move on the inside of Carney to gain a place at Coppice. For the race lead, though, Ravi Ramyeed under attack from Nick White, and when Ramyeed made a little mistake at the Melbourne hairpin, White went through. They rubbed, Ramyeed got onto the grass, and Nick White looked as though he was clear. But a corner later, it all went wrong, because powering his way onto the pit straight, he lost the back of the car, and around he went. He fell to fourth, and that's where he stayed. Tyres are squealing as he got going again, but Ravi Ramyin had his lead back, and that's where he was going to stay. Charlotte Lowe went off into the gravel trap. That brought out the safety car. It was a rather messy safety car period, but Ravi Ramyin controlled it, and he led on the restart all the way to the checkered flag and on his way to a 13th victory of the season. It means the championship remains alive going into the last round. It's still between Ravi Ramyin and Nick White, and the championship decider will be up later on in the afternoon here at Donington Park.